In the United States, we take education for granted. But do you know what would happen if the schools suddenly closed? This is exactly what happened in a small town called Farmville in Prince Edward County, Virginia. Our story begins on April 23rd, 1951. Students at Robert Russa Moton High School in Farmville, Virginia marched out of school in protest of their education. They argued that the white students were receiving superior education from the other school. Led by then student Barbara Jones, the protest was believed to be one of the factors that led to the famous Brown versus Board of Education trial. In 1954, the results of the famous trial deemed segregation unconstitutional. The leaders in Virginia responded with a policy called massive resistance in the hopes of blocking desegregation. In 1959, the federal and state court ruled the policy unconstitutional. The Prince Edward County School Board responded by shutting down the schools from 1959 to 1964. Those 5 years without education were a dark time for the county, and the ramifications are still being felt to this very day. I spoke with Russell L. Dove, Lynchburg's chief of police and member of the Prince Edward County School Board, who was directly affected by the school's closing, as well as Dr. Lawrence Farner, another member of the Prince Edward County School Board who also witnessed this tragedy.
On a personal level, it's impacted me both directly and indirectly. Now, directly, how it impacted me, like I said, I was born the year that the school closed, so when the time for to actually go to school, the schools did reopen at that time. But I was in class with students that had been out of, that hadn't attended school for 5 years. You know, I had students like Wilbur and Charles and all. They were 10 or 11 years old in the same grade that I was. And understandable, the teachers, Ms. Herndon, Mr. Ayers and all, I remember some of the teachers, they gave them an inordinate amount of attention to try to catch them up. You know, I understand. But at the same token, I think that they diminished some of the education, some of the time that could have been spent preparing me better for the future, because they spent that time trying to catch those 5 or 6 students up. And they had the other 24 of us or 25 of us in the class kind of didn't get the same attention, which was a negative, but you learn to overcome that too. The most impact has been with my oldest brother, Rufus. When the school closed, the family made a decision to send him to Northern Virginia to live with my Aunt Louise. And Rufus, after the 5 years after it closed, after they reopened, he stayed on and continued to live with Aunt Louise in Northern Virginia. So basically, Rufus, to me, until we was in our 30s, he was almost like a cousin to me versus a brother. He came home at holidays and, you know, on the holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and he came home during the summer. But I had cousins out of Baltimore that did the same thing. So basically, instead of my oldest brother, he was like a cousin to me. So it kind of separated the family that way. That was the most impactful.
I had a couple of friends that were black, and that wasn't heard of, but we didn't go to school. The whites didn't go to school at the time, blacks. So first, second grade, it was a small white elementary school we went to, and then they started the phase-in of integration, so they moved our schools to a bigger school, but it was still black and white. But there were a couple of blacks that I'm not sure how they got into our school system. I don't know whether the county incentivized a couple to come into each classroom. So that started in 3rd grade. And then in 8th grade is when it was a full-blown, where the black school closed, the white school closed, and it was a complete mix. And that's when so many of my friends' parents sent them to the private school.
The actions of the past are still being felt to this very day. According to the test scores of the 2015-2016 school year in Prince Edward County High School, 33% of kids are failing math out of a student body of 342. That is literally 1/3 of the school's students. Also, their exam passing rate is roughly 17% in terms of advanced placement testing. Ricky Lynn Cundiff, along with education major and someone with insight into Prince Edward County Public Schools, had this to say.
I can see that they're way behind from other students I know their age, and also a lot of them come here with no homework. I'm not quite sure how they don't ever have homework, and their teachers, some of the teachers don't give them homework to do, which I feel is very important in learning, is doing work after school. So I can tell there's a major difference between kids at Prince Edward versus kids maybe in Northern Virginia.
But there are groups who are trying to make a difference. Enter Growth, a Longwood-founded organization that meets at Race Street Baptist Church on Monday nights to help kids in the community with their schoolwork. I got to speak with Benita Hatcher, the coordinator of Growth, about its origins.
Growth started with Kanan Townsend some five years ago. He came and we were trying to get the kids into tutoring, and his mom works with me, and so they asked Kanan, she said she would ask Kanan about coming, and Kanan came, and then he came by himself for a while, and then he got some more students to come in. And then the next semester, that August of 2012, he brought in Kari and Chriselle, and they would come every week and help with the kids and help them with the homework, with the reading. And it has really helped a lot. We've had some that start out with D's and F's, and now they're making A's and B's.
Benita also shared some amazing success stories regarding the children in Growth.
Shatonia, one of them, has, she says she has really, learned a lot and have really accomplished a lot with coming to tutoring, that she has learned how, doing math, that she has really, says she's on honor roll now.
Well, right now I tutor Shatonia, and each year, I've been tutoring Shatonia for the last 2 years.
I bring worksheets home and she goes through it with me. We read the paper, and she helps me find the answer instead of me guessing.
Any subject that she has, whatever. Today we did social studies. Some days we do history, reading, math, whichever.
Because I seem like whenever I go with Chriselle, she talks it out with me. She makes sure that I understand it before we go on.
Yes, well, she's been coming since I've been here, so for 4 years. And I realized that in the beginning she wasn't really strong on math, and now she does excellent in math. And now these couple, this last grading period, she just got on honor roll, so yeah.
Will this make up for the sins of the past? Only time will tell. But the only way to make progress is to keep going forward.